Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'll be reviewing Chain of Gold. Now this book is so pretty. How pretty is the cover? Like seriously, the artwork on all these books in the Shadowhunter Chronicles is just incredible. It is my favorite book series. Every book in the Shadowhunter series I love. I fell in love with Mortal Instruments a while ago. I remember reading it and I was hooked. I read it I think City of Bones in like 2 days. I remember crying and like getting so into it. If you love fantasy, I highly recommend it. I think you really enjoy it. This book is set, it's a prequel to the Mortal Instruments, which was the first set of books out of all the installments in the Shadowhunter Chronicles, if that makes sense. There's a lot of installments and there's also a bunch of different other spin-offs and other little stories as well. But yeah, this book is a prequel to the Mortal Instruments, but a sequel to the Infernal Devices. Now, I would recommend reading all the books, or at least the Infernal Devices, because it's before this book, so you get a timeline of what's going on. But also, if you read the Dark Artifices, which is the most current one, the latest series, and most current day, there's characters in there which relate to these characters in Chain of Gold. So that would just make it easier for you to understand if you read all of them. But you don't have to. But if you do, you sort of fall in love with the characters more once you've gone on that journey, so that when you meet these new characters, there are a lot of new characters in this book, you understand a lot more about what's going on as well, and the family tree. There's massive family trees. Like, it just goes on and on. I don't even know if I know who everyone's related to and all that. Now, with this book, I read it earlier this year. And also the second book in the Last Hours series, book 2, which is Chain of Iron, is coming out, I'm pretty sure in March. So I'm really excited about that one. So this book is set really around 1903, so a little bit just after the Infernal Devices. And it begins in a time called Days Past, which is just a little bit before that, so probably late 1800s. And it begins with the character who we meet as Lucy Herondale, who is Will and Tessa, their daughter. And they also have a son, James Herondale. So we start with Lucy. She's also an awesome character in this. She's lost in a forest and she meets a mysterious guy. And it's also Jesse Blackthorn. Now, my favourite characters are these two. I find them so interesting. I find the storyline interesting. I can't wait to see how it develops. As we see later on, he's a ghost. And they meet again at the ball that comes up very soon when we meet a whole nother bunch of characters. Now, I'm still a little bit confused as to who everyone is. Like, we meet a lot of characters. So we meet Cordelia Carstairs, who is the main character in this book as well. She's related to Jem Carstairs, who is my favourite character in the whole series. I'm not even kidding. I think him and Tessa would be my favourite. I do love Simon and Izzy as well, but I really, really love Jem. There's just something about Jem that I don't know. When I was reading the Infernal Devices, I was like, what am I missing when I read this? Because I just only knew the Mortal Instruments. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent. I could talk about this for ages, about the characters that I love. So I could really do a whole nother video on that. So yeah, Lucy meets Jesse and he helps her get out of the forest. So yeah, Cordelia Carstairs is the main character. She's this beautiful, on the cover obviously, with her long red hair. It kind of reminds me of Clary. Now, Cordelia Carstairs is also really good friends with Lucy and James Herondale. I'm trying to say the names really slowly because there are so many characters and I don't want to get it wrong. I also did read it a while ago, so I'm trying to refresh my memory on this amazing book. So yeah, Cordelia has a crush on James and it's really beautiful. They're childhood friends. She's always loved him, you can tell. She's always had a soft spot for him. And it seems as though he might have loved her in the past, but at the moment he's just got his eyes set on Grace, who's a horrible character. Grace Blackthorn as well. Now, she's the sister of Jesse, who has passed away. Now, Grace and James are dating, and it's a weird relationship. It's one where it's not cute, and you just want it to be over, to be honest. Yeah. Now, Cordelia also has a brother called Alistair, so he's an interesting character too, who we'll see probably more into his character. Obviously, he has a secret. He's in love with men, and I guess we'll see. I don't remember us seeing too much about his development in that. I know that he revealed it to, or his sister knows, and he was very like grumpy and trying to hide it. But then I think in the end, from memory, he does reveal it to her, or they do have a conversation about it. Now we also have Tatiana Blackthorne, who is the mother of Jesse and Grace, and she's a really evil character. She's like the villain in this, and she's a bit psycho. So what happened was Jesse passed away because he was getting his runes at the rune ceremony, which is very rare for shadow hunters to actually pass away from their the marks. So he didn't take it well, and he died obviously. And then Tatiana, from memory, correct me if I'm wrong, she saved his breath in a little jar, or a little... she just saved his breath. She was saving it for a time when she could bring him back to life. So back to the ball, we also meet Matthew Fairchild, who's obviously related to Clary. So Cordelia, I think, doesn't really know about Grace at the ball. And there's a scene where I think she's trying to dance with James, or she's trying to really talk to him and rekindle their friendship. It's really cute because she clearly loves him. And then he basically leaves her on the dance floor and goes and talks to Grace. Because she arrives. It's like she's got him under a spell. Meanwhile, Lucy also can see Jesse. Jesse appears and she's like, oh, you're the boy from the forest years ago. And he's just like, you can see me? Because yeah, he's obviously a ghost. So Lucy has some sort of power to see the dead. I've heard she's also got some powers in necromancy. I'm not sure about that, but I have researched and seen some things about that. Also, James has powers too. He can go into the spirit world. There's also a few demon attacks that happen, which is very rare for that day. Like the modern Shadowhunter day, right now we see that it's quite normal for there to be attacks. They're always fighting, they're always ready, they're training. But back then it didn't really happen that much. So yeah, Lucy does have the power to see the dead and has some sort of other powers where later we see that she really wants to bring Jesse back to life, because clearly she loves him. There was also a moment, which was probably my favourite moment in the book, when James was dying. He got attacked, but he's also, as I said before, he travels to the spiritual world. Yeah, something happened where he was basically going to die, and Jesse used his breath on him so he could bring him back to life, and then Jesse sort of faded away, and I was like, no, what's going to happen? But you sort of know, clearly it's going to be a happy ending. I don't know what book, I don't know when, but yeah, Lucy is going to bring him back. I know that Tatiana wants to bring him back, but I really think Lucy's going to bring him back. She's going to be the one, I think, with her powers. I think she has the power. I don't think there needs to be a spell or anything like that. I think she's gonna be able to do something. Also, I've noticed the Herondales, like those two have a lot of crazy powers. Like I feel like they're really special. They're all special, but I mean those two are super. I don't think we've seen those sort of powers for a while in normal sort of shadow hunters. Like Clary had crazy powers as well, but yeah, it seems like these two have unique sort of powers. I guess because, you know, they are Tessa's daughter and son, because they are half warlock. I guess that's why they do have those sort of powers. So there you go, revelation right there. Now there's also this weird stuff going down where Grace wants James to sort of run away and go to another life with her so she can escape her mum, and he's sort of like, I can't do that. I have responsibilities. I have to stay here. And then basically they break up, and then she's engaged all of a sudden to Charles, which is weird because I think Charles and Alistair had something going on. I don't know, but basically they're engaged. But then also the night when James burnt down Tatiana's house, Cordelia covered for him and said, no, he didn't do that, he was with me. And back then, that was not cool to sleep around or before marriage or behave like that at all. So she sacrificed for him. Like, she seriously cares about him. And then he goes to her, well, let's get married. We can get married and be together for a year, and then we can get divorced after. Now, apparently that was really normal in the Shadowhunter world. It's a very normal thing to happen. So to get divorced, it's not a big thing like it is in the real world. Or the mundane world, I should say. They plan to get married and they have an engagement party and everything. And then Grace goes and says the same thing, that she will part from Charles as well, and then they can be together. That's not going to happen. Clearly James and Cordelia are going to fall in love and they're going to be together. It's got to happen. It's a beautiful story. It's not the most exciting out of all the relationships throughout the series. Who knows, I might end up thinking it's the best relationship. My favourite when it comes to those sort of relationships of people who've been friends or known each other since they were young, then getting together, would definitely be Emma and Julian. Like, that just, it doesn't compare. Those two had an epic relationship. I would love to see more development with all the other characters as well and see where it all heads. But yeah, I'm really excited for the next one. I'm really keen to see what happens with Lucy and Jesse. I think particularly towards the end, there was a conversation between Lucy and Grace, and they're going to try and raise him to life again. But it doesn't look like it's in a good way. So I really hope that Lucy does it the right way, and a way that he's not going to come back and be like, something wrong with him or not right. Like, so yeah, there's definitely very lovable characters. I definitely recommend this book. I really loved it. I was hooked on this book, as I am usually with all of the books though, so I am a bit biased. I'm always just going to say love it. It was really beautiful. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the book. Are you excited for the next one to come out? What do you think is going to happen? My predictions would be that I think Lucy is going to raise Jesse from the dead, and I also think there's going to be more development between Cordelia and James. So I'm looking forward to it. Tell me what you guys think as well, and who's your favourite character. I hope you like this review. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.